Hey everyone, it's been a little while since I've done videos. It's been a busy summer trying to fight the rain and the sun and then the sun and then the rain. You know, you get like 2 days of sun and you've got to do all this catch up and still live your life, and then it's supposed to downpour for 3 to 5 days and you got to do it all again somehow in the 1.5 to 2 days that we get of the sun. Anyways, hi, and this is besides the point. Yesterday I did a post on my page about getting uncomfy and finding what your uncomfy is, or finding what your home base is, and to share your self-love techniques and so forth that help you to kind of come back to home base. And today I wanted to kind of share a little bit of my story, because I think it's a good time for everybody to kind of get to know me a little bit better and know why I understand the extreme importance of finding what grounds you and what your home base is. For me, some people have kind of seen, and you see on my page that I've got a little bit of horse stuff here and there, and it doesn't relate to what I'm doing, what you think doesn't relate to what I'm doing for my life coaching business, but in fact, it's actually quite a huge part of my business. So whether you are using the horses with me or you're not, it's a huge part of my business. So I wanted to share why you see stuff kind of coming and going, because that is my home base. What do I mean by home base? I mean, like, when shit hits the fan and stuff feels horrifying, or you don't know where you're going in your life and you're just confused and overwhelmed. I have tons of tools and techniques that I share with tons of people, and there are things that I've developed that work for me and that I share all the time because I know they work and I know they help. But there's something bigger even then that is valuable to each individual, and that's finding what that home base is. And for me, it's my horses. Why? I couldn't tell you my why, because I just know and I live it. So for example, I had a very difficult upbringing. And before I even knew that I was going to start my journey of becoming a life coach, because that, if you had asked me a long time ago what I was going to be, well, I would tell you, like most confused kids would tell you, is, I don't know, a teacher. I don't know, maybe I'm going to become a veterinarian. Maybe I'm going to, you know, all these other things that I think I'm going to be. But it wasn't until later in life that I discovered what I wanted to be and why I wanted to be that. I found my why later in my life and am passionate about it because of my ability to come back to home base, to find myself, to get clear in myself. So with the beginning of my life story, it was a little bit of a challenge. There was quite a few things that were happening within the home and outside of the home that were very challenging to a young child. And most of the people that work with me or know me well enough know that I am a very, very big advocate of doing inner child work, because inner child work is about releasing all those negative beliefs that we've developed as a child. And I won't get into all that today, because the main thing is to explain why home base is so important. So for me, let's say, for example, when I was around 11 years old, maybe even 12, if my parents didn't know where I was, initially, they would then find out that I was in the barn. I'd be sitting there talking to my horse with my bunny on my lap, but my horse was over my shoulder, and I just would talk. As a child, I would talk. I would let out the things that bothered me, and I would connect with that horse. Not knowing that I was doing what I was doing, like I had no idea. It just felt good, and I trusted that that felt good, because at the time I had lost all trust and faith in human. Basically, no one in my family, in my mind, anything that I believed, no one in my family, no one in my friend circle felt secure and trustworthy to me to keep close to my heart and be able to know that I could just say whatever it was I was feeling, whether it was mad, sad, angry, which is the same as mad, but at a level of, like, when I was younger, my anger was quite intense, and now I understand where the intensity was coming from. It's because I wasn't being heard and no one was understanding what my pain was inside, and I was just dying to be loved and embraced. So my horses were where I went, and that is where I opened up. Little did I know that that's what I was doing. It was just, it felt safe, it felt good. So then moving forward, as I was going through teenage years, something had happened where I had lost, my horse had been taken from me. She had something going on with her, and I don't know to this day if it was a true story or not, but we'll leave that aside. All I know is that when I came home from school one day, my horse was gone. And my horse was gone because she needed to either be, well, I was told she needed to be put down. So whether that was the true story or not, now knowing where I know in horses today, I may have known differently, but I don't know the actual true fact. So I have to believe what the story is. So knowing how much that hurt me, that was my, at the time as a child, remembering that pouring my heart out to this horse, which was my everything, was no longer there. When I came home, I found my rabbit laying in a pile of her hair because she'd been groomed before she'd been taken away. So I guess you can see where that was going as a child. I walked in and I saw this and I started to bawl my eyes out because now my horse is gone, and I was angry and I was confused and sad and didn't know what else I was going to do. So carrying forward in the story, I then became a angry child, even more angry and lost than I had been before. And I never gave up on horses. I never gave up on horses. But the connection that I had with horses was totally different. Like, I was basically like that girl that would ride anything and break anything. Because when I got on a horse's back, a lot of my friends would say that they didn't like to watch me ride. They were excited to come watch me at the beginning, but then once they saw me ride, it was like, I want nothing to do with that again. And it was because when I rode a horse, everything and anyone and anything around me disappeared. I became a part of that horse unit. We became a team because my job to break that horse, to train that horse, was to be 3 steps ahead of them so I could guide them in the next step. And then if they decided they were going to lose their mind, I could be that 3 steps ahead of them so I was safe. And I could try and train them so I could try and avoid a complicated or a dangerous situation. So in saying that, I still didn't have that heart connection that I did when I was younger, and I used to talk to my horse and feel connected with her. So I was basically just riding to ride horses because I still liked horses and I was really good at what I did, and I didn't know that what I was doing was still really keeping me together. It just wasn't, I wasn't connected the same way, and I didn't talk to them or feel like I was releasing anything when I was with them. So that was that. But later down the road, life happened. I moved away from the town I was living at to move for a boy. And of course, I was late teens. I think I was early 20s. And I saw him less when I lived in his hometown, like where he lived in his city. I saw him less than I did when I lived back in my hometown that was an hour and 45 minutes from where he lived. So now I've got a job in the city. I'm away from the country. I'm paying for all my bills. I'm paying for everything. And at the end of the week, I maybe had $10 to my name. I was paying for schooling and courses that I didn't know what I was doing. I had no idea where I was going in my life, but all I knew was that I needed to make it somewhere and I needed to be something. So I worked my ass off to be who I was. So I was trying and trying and trying, and then eventually anxiety started taking me over because I was brutally unhappy. Like, unhappy. I had no money, but I worked my ass off. And I had moved for a boy that I saw less of. So it was kind of like a catch-22 because I was like, why did I do this? I moved here to be closer to this guy because I thought I was in love. I wanted this. And needless to say, the anxiety got to me to the point where I was almost crippled from it, and I was getting horrible body symptoms to where it pushed me to a point where I had to let my job go. I had to give up my position of where I was working, and I had to let it go. And what did I do? I moved out to a trailer. That's right, a trailer. With the horse that is now, I forgot to tell you this part of the story, so going back was, when I was going through this, I was starting to rediscover that I hated the city. I wanted out of the city. And my mother knew how much I still wanted, like I was considering going out towards the country and stuff. And my mother had told me a story that she wanted me to come look at this horse out a little bit further east than where I was. And she asked me to basically, you know, can you ride this horse and just see if this horse is any good? Because I'm looking for that horse that, you know, if one of my girlfriends comes over, we can go riding and we'll go riding together. And I just want to know they're going to be safe. And it's one of those horses I don't have to train or work with or do anything with. So I need you to come check this horse out for me. So I was like, fine, that's fine. I'll do it. Fine. So I went out to this, it was actually my cousin's place, and she had this horse that apparently wasn't really super kind or nice. And well, my mom wanted me to try him, and she obviously knew better than I did and at the time. And keep in mind that I hadn't connected with a horse in years, like since I was 13, and I'm probably about 19 now. Or maybe I was 18 or 19. That's still a long time to not be connected and still want to be with horses. Everybody, if you're here and you're still listening to me, give me some hearts so I know that I'm not talking at you and that you're listening. Because I really want you to get to know me, but also get something from this from me. Because there is a point at the end, I promise. My story just doesn't go on and on and on. There is a point. Thank you, Jan. Okay, so I go out and I get on this horse. And I didn't realize till after, but apparently when I was riding this horse, I was able to find out that he did everything. He jumped, he jumped anything. He literally did dressage. If you're a horse person, you'll know dressage is that beautiful dancing kind of movement where they can dance in one spot. It's really hard, but he did everything. Western, English, jumping, dressage, like everything about it, they started doing. And I didn't realize that I was a bucket of smiles the whole time I was on the back of this horse. I get off the horse when I'm done training, like working with this horse, and I've tried him through everything, and he didn't pull one thing with me. And so I get off the horse to be told, basically asked, you know, how did that go? And I said, yeah, he's all right. So I went from like, I'm the happiest person in the world to, yeah, he's good. He's what you need. Yeah, he'll do. So then I get told, we'll take him back, get him untacked, and your mom and I are going to talk. So they talk. And mom comes in to talk to me to basically say, what do you really think about this horse? And I said, yeah, he's exactly what you need. He's what you need. He's going to work. And she says, so like to the point where you'll show up and take care of him because he's yours? So I then accumulated a horse. So I was caught in the barn, and at the time I still ate crappy McDonald's. Sorry if you love your McDonald's, but I was eating McDonald's and I had a Big Mac happening, and because obviously I'm not going to feed him meat, I took the meat out of the bun and I was caught feeding the horse burger without the bun, so just the lettuce and everything, and pouring iced tea into my hand, and I was sharing my drink, and he was loving it. And apparently the better part of the story too was that this horse wasn't a very happy horse. He hadn't been happy in a long time, but him and I guess we just did it for each other. So now I've got a horse. So I'm out I go back to my apartment and I'm basically packing it up, and I moved out to a trailer to a farm out east, and I literally shoveled the lady's stalls. She only wanted them done once a week, which I was kind of weirded out about it, but whatever. It paid for my electricity and water, and I lived in a trailer, and my horse ate grass around me without any fencing. I read my book, I laid there, I would ride him through water. I used to take him down to Lake Ontario and ride him in the water, and people would stop and watch me as if they were like watching their dog swim in the water. But here's this girl on her horse swimming in the water. It was incredible. He was incredible. So anyways, needless to say, I found my heart horse, which, sad to say, I lost him on my birthday celebration the year my baby was born. But I can say that anytime I was ever upset, that horse was at the gate pawing, waiting, and I would come out the door and I'd see him and he'd just be standing there as if he knew I was upset. Think I'm wacky and crazy for any of you people that don't know about this kind of stuff. It's okay that you might feel that way, but it is true that horses do feel you. They do connect with you. And until you experience it, you really shouldn't be cutting it down. That's all I have to say. I won't go any further than that. But needless to say, I moved out. I was still dating the boy, and I told him, if you want to see me, you're going to have to come out and visit me, because I cannot stand the city and I'm done. I cannot be here. So that's when I moved out to the trailer, and honestly was just trying to find myself again. And I didn't know what I was doing. Yet again, I did not know what I was doing. And I found a job at a stud farm for standardbreds in Ontario. It was actually the leading sire stud farm in Ontario, and I had no idea I was interested in standardbreds, and I had no idea what I was getting into. But when I pulled up to this place, I'll tell you, a small town girl walking into this facility was like, I don't belong here. Oh my God, I don't belong here. Because it was pristine. Like, you could probably eat off the floors. It was pretty pristine. But the coolest dude walked out, shook my hand, hired me, gave me a shot. And when he hired me, he said, you know, if things work out, we'll give you a house and da-da-da, which was perfect because we were leading into October and it was freezing in my trailer. So I needed out of my trailer. So he gave me a place to keep the horse for a little while. And then he gave me the okay, and I moved on and I got into breeding racehorses. So now, before I get too crazy into that part of it, I got into that, which then led me to Australia, and I studied under a veterinarian out of there, and he is phenomenal. He's a huge part of my life now, which I'm going to tag him in this video because he needs to know that I'm repeating my story again to somebody, because, well, to everybody, because I really value everything he ever taught me. And the words that he said to me when I was at my lowest point were, it was like having like a father. He was like a father figure, and he was amazing, and because of him is why I went to Australia. And he gave me a lot of my beliefs back. But keeping in mind, it's all about the horses that are taking me there too, right? This wouldn't have happened had I not had the horses. So life happened. Before I left for Australia, stuff happened that made me go, this boy's never going to commit to me. I can't do this anymore. He's holding me back. And I had to let him go. And then that ended up me going to Australia not long after because I was laid off from my job because they sold the farm. Went over there and did some studying, and when I came back, I was sitting here trying to figure out what the hell am I going to do with my life. I know I want to work with horses. There's money in horses, but not in buying and selling and training, not in Ontario. So something's got to change. Something has to happen, and I've got to step into my uncomfy. And this is where it relates to my conversation yesterday. Thanks for the hearts and smiles. Hello, everyone. So this is where I'm getting into my conversation. I put a post on my page yesterday about getting uncomfy and how that's our time to grow. So this is where I was like, I have no idea what to do, but I know I got to do something. So here's a girl with a dream and a passion, and I built a reproductive horse business. I am in the business of breeding racehorses, and I did things that I didn't believe were possible, and I did them. And it was all because of the passion of my home base. My home base is horses. And I had no idea what the hell I was doing. You think I knew how to build a business? Small town girl, grew up in a very difficult situation, didn't believe she had the brain cells to do much. And I built a business from the ground up. And this is by all means no bragging. This is a talk of driving some passion into some people that are sitting there wondering, what the hell am I going to do? If you have a home base, you need to sit and be in that home base and start feeling it, because there are a lot of answers that are awaiting for you. A lot. Because had I not had the passion in horses, I'm not sure that this would have, well, no, this never would have happened. Because there was a lot of blood, sweat, and tears that built this business. There's a 73-acre farm that my mother helped me buy, which wasn't just as easy as that. And when I actually took over the farm, it still was not as easy as that. And I still am working hard towards building it and growing it, because I'm still considered a new business. New business doesn't just you've been in business for 4 years, all of a sudden you're a business forever. Like, I'm still getting my name out there, and it's taken a lot of hard work, because this is where, first off, we'll just say, I was kind of scared to put myself out there, and I had no idea that that was happening to me, because it was one day where my business was like, I was just kind of like contemplating. So I'd worked really, really, really hard to build this business. I put the poles in the ground. I built, if you saw my property, maybe one day I'll do some live video outside so you can see my farm. If that's of interest to anyone, you can tell me in the comments below. But every wire I hung, we built the interior of the barn, I built the shelters outside. I was in the trenches pulling the electricity and the water lines to build that, and I had an electrician come in and hook me up, and it was all approved and done. Everything on this farm was done by me. I revamped it, I fixed the land, I did it. And I could do it because my passion was so incredibly strong of my home base. My horses grounded me so much. It is what kept me together. And days where I felt like, why the F am I getting up at 6 a.m., 5 a.m., 4 a.m. when I just went to bed at 2 a.m. because I was cutting fields, and You know, I'm not seeing the turnaround yet. There's no, like, how do I get business? Blah, 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 blah. Well, because the passion of the horses kept me together. And all I knew was that I did not want to work for someone else, and I wanted to work for myself, and I knew I could do this, and I believed in it because of that. That's really kind of you to say, Miles. Thank you. He says, congrats on all your hard work. You've been at it a long while. Don't give up. And I have. And you know what? A long while meaning my life a long while, because I was developing as who I am today my whole life. But where the change was is that I believed in something. And even though I didn't believe in myself at the time, I believed in something so powerful that it allowed me to find myself so I could love myself. And that's the message I'm trying to get across, because when you're uncomfortable, this is your time to grow in your world. This is the time to grow inside of yourself. When you're feeling down, find your home base. You need to figure out what your passion is. If it's music, if it's nature, if it's reading a book, if you have no friggin' idea, start brainstorming. There are some fantastic tools out there for brainstorming. And I speak this to you because I don't want to talk at you. I'm really trying to talk with you. But here's where the turning point was and why and where I became a life coach. I hit that point where after about, I think it had been about 4 or 5 years, I was kind of like, okay, so I've built my business and I'm not really satisfied with this anymore. I don't really know what I want to do. I don't feel so good about it anymore. And when I started analyzing it, it was like, I don't want to give up my dream. I don't want to give up this business I built. It's more than just a business. It's my life. It's my lifestyle. And these horses, being able to breed a horse, foal it out, like deliver the baby and watch the baby have its first breath, its first blink of an eye, its first connection with its mother, I cannot explain it any other, like if you can't tell where I'm going with that, like my heart pounds when I think about it because it's phenomenal. It's beautiful. And it is a sign of recreating life every single day. Every day I foal out those horses, it's like, oh my God, like another, it's just a reminder of how life can be recreated. And it's beautiful. But in saying that, I discovered that it wasn't about the horses. I didn't want to give up the horses. I didn't want to give up what I was doing. It was that I was hiding behind the horses. So now I had a whole new level of being uncomfortable. Like a whole new level of being uncomfortable. Because now what scared me the most was people. And now I had to step outside of that comfort zone and find people. And so that's when I started my life journey of my self-healing, my self-development, and starting to step out. So getting uncomfortable, I can tell you, was the best thing I ever did, because when I was willing and accepting to allow that to happen. Hi, Kelsey. Yes, you did finally catch me live. I'm always catching you, and now you just found me. And my cousin from Texas is online, and she says, I love learning from you. Aw, I miss you. You need to come to Canada. So, in saying that, getting back on track, because this is wonderful. It's nice to know everybody's enjoying this. But what I wanted to say was, I kind of lost my track there, which is okay. But yes, so I got to find out that my uncomfortable was about people. And when I started facing that and I was willing and accepting to be open to change in my life, it's a whole nother story. I don't want to talk to you forever because this has been for a long time. So I won't tell you that, but I'll tell you how that kind of happens. If you keep following, I'll share that story one day. But the moral of this story is that when I got uncomfortable, I no longer had, I didn't have the fears like I did before. Like, yeah, it's scary as shit to change. And it is scary to step out of that zone where you are comfortable. You hit that upper limit and you're like, okay, let's bring me back down to where I know is comfortable. It's what I know and it's what I want. I promise you it's not what you want. Just giving in is just giving into that uncomfortable is giving up. And it's not worth it. There's so much more on the other side. You just have to get a little uncomfortable, which is why you need to find who is your support system, who is your help. If you ever have questions about that, if I'm not the gal for you, that's okay. But it doesn't mean that I don't have people that might resonate with you. So consult with me and I can send you to people that resonate with you if it's not me. Because I tell you, getting uncomfortable is friggin' awesome. For me, because I have my passion in my home base and horses, when I get that uncomfortable, that I get scared and I want to run, I get to go back to what feels good, and that's my horses. And when I get back around my horses, creativity starts to flow, calm starts to come back inside of me, because I know that my horses are my peeps. So when I'm losing faith, or if I just need to reset and I don't want to think, I don't want to talk, or maybe I want to talk but I just don't want to fight about what I'm talking about, then I go back to my horses. And some people might think that's crazy, but here's the thing. How do you know? How do you know it's crazy? If someone tells you that horses are the answer to helping you, how do you know that that's not true? You haven't tried it. You haven't experienced it. And it's okay, because it's just fear. And I know you're going to probably, for the people that are completely resistant against me, you're just going to think that, like, whatever, you're a friggin' whack job. And think what you will, but I'll tell you that that is just uncomfortable, and you are just resisting the amazing things that are awaiting you. So my conversation today was to share a little bit of my story with you. If you missed it, please go back and watch the replay. If you're catching me on the replay, I'm so happy to have you here. And I hope this has done something for you, because sharing a part of your story, no matter how good you are at it or how many times you tell it, something new always comes up, and it's always a learning curve, because I know there's things that have been like, holy shit, I didn't even remember that. And it's going to remind me down the road to do something different again. So, or to share a little more. But there's a lot of people that watch you in the world that may not know certain things about you, and it's scary. And I'm putting myself out there because I just know that the importance of my message is what I'm trying to share with you. And figuring out, so my message that I posted yesterday, if you didn't see it, go to it's on my personal page, and it was about getting uncomfortable and sharing what works for you, because what your tidbit might be might help someone who's struggling to find what self-love looks for them, or what tools and techniques work for them. They may not have anything. So when you share on that post, it might be something someone's reading and they're like, I never tried that, but that resonates with me. That might work for me. So I encourage you to go and message on that. And anything you want to share in this video, I would love. It would be amazing if you would share it with anybody you think could use this message. But the whole point of this message was to talk about finding that home base, finding what grounds you. So when shit is stirring and you're in a whirlwind of crap and you don't know what the hell to do, go back to what resonates with you. Like for me, it's not even just the horses now, it's my child. Because my daughter, whenever I'm confused, that's a whole nother level too. When I'm confused, or I'm just like beating myself up, or like running myself too hard, I look at my daughter and remind myself of how uncomplicated life needs to be. She's totally comfortable. Even when she falls, she's comfortable. She gets up and tries again. Why the hell can't we do that? Because we get complicated. So let's get uncomfortable, because if you want to grow, the world is waiting for you to step outside the box. And when you don't get uncomfortable and you just stay where it is, and you get on that little comfy couch where you can just sit and let the world pass you by, you're missing so much. So much. If there was something in your childhood that made you feel good, and if you think about it, and it starts to bring you back to ground zero, it starts to calm you down, I encourage you to take that and start looking into that more so now. Because that might be your home base that you're fighting every day. If it's not something that happened, that's fine. But do me a favor and just sit quietly, go for a walk, whatever you think it is that you do now that resonates with you, go do it. And then just focus on, ask yourself some curious questions. You're just questioning yourself. Just ask yourself and be curious of, when I was a kid, and even if it's hard for you to remember when you were a child, what felt good? What made me feel safe? What made me feel like no matter what is happening, I'm okay? It might be a really difficult conversation for you. And give yourself time. I'm not asking you to do this and be like, I need to know the answer now. Just think about it for a little bit, and then when you come up with it, private message me if you're not comfortable sharing it in here, because I would love to hear it, because this stuff excites the shit out of me. Because embracing your inner child is the most powerful, I'm trying to say two things in one, because there are two things to say here. It is the most powerful, empowering experience. It's just, whether it's good or bad, embracing your inner child and embracing your childhood and doing the uncomfortable work of what was there when you were a child will amp your life up to a whole total new level. And that is what I'm passionate about. Because as a child, there was nothing more that felt worse to me than feeling like I was completely and utterly alone and no one understood. Didn't matter how hard I fought to have friends because nobody understood the pain I was carrying, so I always put a face on. And I was athletic. I was, I guess you could say, kind of popular. People might tell you differently, but for me, I'm kind of modest too, so I'm not going to, I don't know, and I don't even know because I don't care, but I do know that I just went to school every single day and all I wanted to do was put a smile on my face, get away from the environment that was crushing me as a child, and I wanted to play sports because I was good at it and feel good at it, because that made me feel good. But then when I came home, it was straight to the horses. But there was a lot for me to learn about what I was putting away as a child. So as an adult, I was pushing away what I needed to know to help me. And that is why I know that with horses, at least it brought me back to my calm, to where I could feel calm and safe again, to even revisit anything that I needed to do. So this is why I'm starting at, what's your home base? Figure out your home base and share it with me privately or in this comments. And to please remember to go back to the post that I posted yesterday about getting uncomfortable and sharing what your self-love tips are for other people. I would love for you to do that because, like I said, there's people out there that are trying to start their journey. They're trying to move out of this shithole they're in. They're trying to climb the ladder. Whatever terminology you use, there are people that are kind of struggling or are struggling. And sometimes the hardest part is figuring out what works. What is there? I don't know. I don't know what I have. I don't know what there is. But if something worked for you and you share that, it may potentially be the starter for someone, because once they get started, they may remember what it was that truly worked for them. And that's what I'm trying to do here. So let's try and do that. Let's share this stuff and get it out there and figure out how we can move forward, because there's so much more waiting for us. You don't have to start at a new year. You don't have to be like, oh, it's a new year, I'm going to start doing this for myself. Start now. That's my cue to go because someone's coming up the driveway. But share, 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 like, love, 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 and stay with me because this is going somewhere. Walk in the woods, my dog partner. See, Kelsey has one. Thank you for sharing. Kelsey says, walk in the woods with my dog and partner is my saving grace. And I love that you have that. Totally, when I feel anxiety and discomfort around a big idea, I think, ugh. Yeah. And she also says, great analogy with your daughter falling and getting back up. See, we do complicate stuff. Us adults, man, get in your inner child, get back to that. And if it needs healing, let's friggin' heal it, because it's time to step out of this uncomfortable zone. I'll be back later. I gotta go for now. As you can see, baby is woke and I've got company. So bye for now, and thanks so much for watching, whether you're watching live or the replay. Thank you for showing up, because I showed up. And I know that I had some anxiety sharing some of this stuff, but we're all good. Getting uncomfortable is amazing. Bye for now.